Hey Reddit. I'm writing this with a whiskey in one hand and my dog curled up at my feet because honestly, if I don't get this out, I might explode. I, 39M, just discovered that my wife, 37F, has been cheating on me, and not in some messy, obvious way. It was the kind of betrayal that eats at your sanity one passive-aggressive comment at a time, until you finally realize, the person you built your life with isn't your partner anymore, they're your executioner with a smile. Let me rewind. I met Laura 14 years ago at a work event. She was a firecracker. Intelligent, funny, ambitious, had this way of making everyone in a room feel like they weren't just seen, but understood. I fell hard and fast. We got married after 2 years of dating. No kids, but we did get a golden retriever named Max who we treated like royalty. We were that couple, tag-teaming life, pulling in solid incomes, traveling a lot, making inside jokes at every party. I thought we were unbreakable. Things started unraveling about 2 years ago. Nothing huge at first. Just shifts. Laura started coming home later. Said she was swamped at her new job, where she'd just gotten a big promotion in digital branding. She was traveling more, conferences, executive workshops, client strategy retreats. I wanted to be supportive. I've always respected her hustle. But she started guarding her phone like it was the nuclear launch code. One night, she even took it into the bathroom while we were watching a movie and stayed in there for 40 minutes. When I asked what she was doing, she said she had a stomach ache. But I could hear her giggling behind the door. Then came the sarcasm. The way she'd roll her eyes at me if I mispronounced something. Or how she'd make these digs about my job, saying things like, maybe if you worked as hard as I do, we'd finally have a house worth bragging about. I make decent money, by the way, more than decent. I do back-end architecture for fintech companies, and I've got a couple of big contracts under my belt. But to her, if it didn't come with clout or a glossy LinkedIn post, it didn't matter. Then came my birthday. My sister organized a small get-together at our place. Just family and a couple of close friends. Laura looked bored the whole time, barely smiled, didn't even try to help set things up. She spent most of the time texting someone. At one point during dinner, my brother-in-law raised a glass and gave a weird toast, something like, "Here's to Jake, the dependable guy who never shot for the stars but somehow landed a wife like Laura." Everyone laughed. I didn't. Laura giggled and added, "Well, you know what they say, safe guys make safe choices." It was humiliating. I just sat there, gritting my teeth, wondering when the hell I became the joke at my own party. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. I excused myself, stepped outside, and answered. "Hey, it's Jackson Crane," said the voice. "Yeah. That Jackson Crane. Tech billionaire. Angel investor. One of the few clients I had personally consulted for the year before. I helped him navigate a nightmare data migration when one of his portfolio companies got hit with a ransomware scare. Apparently, he hadn't forgotten. "I've got a private project I want your help on," he said. "You're the only one I trust for this, boss." He called me boss. I put it on speaker for a second as I walked back in. My family went quiet. Laura blinked, and for a moment, I swear I saw something on her face I hadn't seen in years, uncertainty. But she didn't say anything. "No, wow, that's amazing." "No, that's huge, Jake." Nothing. Later that night, she went to bed early and turned away from me without a word. And that's when something in me snapped. I wasn't angry yet, but I wasn't blind anymore either. Next part. I find a second phone charger in her suitcase that doesn't fit any of our devices, and a text that changes everything. Let me know if I should keep going. The night after the birthday party, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment Laura laughed at my expense in front of my family, my own wife, smirking as my self-worth got chipped away like some running joke. And that phone call. It should have been a win. A career-defining moment. But instead of celebrating, she just ignored it. Like it annoyed her that I had something exciting in my life that didn't revolve around her. Around 2 a.m., I got up, grabbed a glass of water, and sat in the living room staring at nothing. That's when I noticed her suitcase was still by the front door. She'd just returned from a client retreat in San Diego the night before. Normally, she'd unpack immediately. Laura's type A to the core. Her closet looks like a catalog display. But the bag was untouched. I don't know what came over me, curiosity, suspicion, maybe just spite, but I unzipped it. Clothes, a makeup bag, 2 pairs of heels. Nothing crazy. But then I saw it, a black phone charger. Now here's the thing, we're both iPhone users. That charger? It was for a Samsung. One of those newer, fast-charging cables. And we don't own a single Android device. So I left the suitcase exactly how I found it, took the charger, and slipped it in my desk drawer. The next day, over breakfast, I asked, "Hey, whose charger was that in your suitcase?" Laura didn't even blink. "Oh, that? The hotel must have mixed it up. Housekeeping probably left it in there. No tag. No note." She shrugged, not even looking up from her avocado toast. "Jake, it's just a charger. Can we not start the day with conspiracy theories?" I let it go. Out loud, at least. But inside, alarm bells were going off. Later that week, while she was in the shower, I checked her work laptop. Locked. She never used to lock it. Her phone. Password changed. Again. I knew she'd been on Instagram and Facebook recently. Our accounts used to be pretty open, but I couldn't see any of her recent activity anymore. Like she'd adjusted her privacy settings. She was hiding something. I just didn't know what yet. 2 days later, she said she was going out for networking drinks with some industry colleagues. She got dressed like she was going on a date, heels, a low-cut top she hadn't worn in months, and the perfume I bought her for our 5th anniversary. She never wore that one anymore. Said it gave her headaches. But there she was, spritzing it on like it was her secret weapon. She left around 6. I waited. And then, around 6:45, I followed. I'm not proud of it. I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to trail his own wife like some wannabe private eye. But I needed answers. I was tired of feeling like the fool at his own wedding. She said they were meeting at a bar downtown. She parked 2 blocks away, walked fast, like she was nervous. I parked a bit further back, kept my distance. And then I saw him. Tall. Tan. Tattoo sleeve. Younger, maybe 30, wearing a smug grin like he already owned her. She didn't see me. But I saw enough. They hugged like they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Then he kissed her. Right there. In the open. Full on grab the waist, soft moaning kind of kiss. She laughed. She leaned in. And my world tilted on its axis. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that she wasn't even trying to hide it. That she'd been doing this while pretending to be tired, stressed, too busy for us. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't scream or cry. I went home, sat in the dark, and stared at our wedding photo. The worst part. I still loved her. I didn't want revenge. I wanted answers. And I was about to get them. Next part. She makes a slip-up that leads me straight to the truth, and the plan she'd been making behind my back. After that night, the kiss, the smile, the perfume, I didn't sleep. Again. I sat in the guest room with Max curled up beside me while my so-called wife snuck back into our home at 11:42 p.m., humming softly. Like she'd just had a spa day, not just made out with another man. She never checked the guest room. Didn't even poke her head in. Just walked straight to our bedroom, heels in hand. The next morning, I acted normal. Or at least I tried. Drinks run late. I asked casually as I sipped my coffee. She smirked, still scrolling through her phone. Yeah, the new creative director wouldn't shut up. Such a character. Character, huh? I bet. She leaned over to kiss my cheek and said, "Don't wait up next time. You need your sleep." Oh, the irony. I smiled and nodded. Sure, babe. I trust you. That lie tasted like battery acid in my mouth. But I was done sitting in the dark. I needed proof. Concrete. Undeniable. Because no matter how calm I pretended to be, the truth was burning a hole in my chest. And I wasn't just dealing with infidelity, I was starting to get the feeling this wasn't just about another guy. She'd changed. Strategically. Like she was preparing for something big. And that's when the slip-up happened. That evening, she was rushing to get ready again. Girls' night, she claimed. Spar, then dinner. I nodded from the couch, half watching some true crime thing on Netflix. She was flustered, like actually nervous for once. She grabbed her purse, went to the bedroom, and came back out again, mumbling something about forgetting her keys. The front door slammed shut, and that's when I saw it. Her iPad. Sitting right there on the dining table. Now, here's the thing, Laura synced her devices months ago. And while she always changed the password on her phone, the iPad. Same password she used since college. Her cat's name. I knew it by heart. I hesitated. I stared at it for maybe 10 full minutes, heart racing. Then I opened it. Boom. Messages. Dozens of them. Most of the names were disguised. One contact was saved as Andrea Nails, cute, another as Mark, Uber Eats, real original. But one thread wasn't hidden at all. It was just a name, Caden. And the texts? Let's just say they weren't talking about work presentations. Still thinking about last night. You looked unreal in that dress. When are you telling him? You said after your birthday weekend. He won't see it coming. And then we can finally move in. That one stopped me cold. Move in. She was planning to leave me. But not just leave, she was orchestrating the perfect exit. Like I was some inconvenience in the way of her perfect little love story. But it got worse. I scrolled further back. Months of planning. Secret meetups. Fake conferences. Hotel receipts. Shared Pinterest boards labeled Dream Home. It was all there. She hadn't just cheated on me, she'd replaced me in her mind and already picked out a future I wasn't in. There was even a message from Caden that said, "Tell your family you're done. They'll get over it once they see the new house. He can keep the mutt." I had to sit down. My legs felt like jelly. The rage I'd been holding back started to boil, but I knew I had to be smart. I couldn't blow up, not yet. She had an entire plan. I needed one too. That night, I slept in our bed like nothing had happened. I held her. I kissed her shoulder. I whispered, "I love you." And in my head, I started calculating exactly how I'd burn this perfect lie to the ground. Next part. I hire someone to follow her. What he sends me, nearly sends me into a breakdown. The next morning, Laura was unusually cheerful. She even made pancakes, which she hadn't done in years. Probably guilt, or maybe trying to keep me docile while she wrapped up her perfect escape plan. She hummed while cooking, swaying to some upbeat playlist, like nothing in the world could touch her. I watched her, sipping coffee with a frozen smile, while my insides churned. I couldn't pretend forever. I needed more than just texts if I wanted to be ready when this all came crashing down. I needed eyes on her, on them. So I did something I never thought I'd do, I hired a private investigator. I used an alias and set everything up anonymously through a discreet friend in security. The guy I hired, Vincent, wasn't cheap, but he had a solid rep, former law enforcement, now freelance surveillance. I gave him Laura's work schedule, her gym times, even her yoga studio she only recently started going to for self-care. Vincent said he'd follow her discreetly for a week and send me reports. The first couple of days. Nothing too wild. She was at the office when she said she was. Hit the gym once. Grocery store. Harmless. Then day 4 happened. I got a Dropbox link in my email labeled Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. I sat alone in my car in the parking lot outside a sandwich shop, hands shaking as I tapped it open. The first clip was blurry for a second, then it focused. Laura. My wife. In a black dress I'd never seen before. Leaning into the same man I saw her kiss. Caden. But this time, they were at a furniture store. She was pointing at a sofa. He was standing behind her with his hands around her waist, lips near her ear. Next clip, different location. A gated property on the outskirts of town. Fancy. Newly renovated. Vincent had followed them there. Apparently, they met with a real estate agent. She was walking them through the place like they were serious buyers. But then came the photo that truly broke me. It was her. Holding hands with Caden. Signing something. Smiling. It wasn't just an affair. It was a life. She was buying a house with him. While sleeping in my bed. Eating the food I bought. Acting like she was stressed about work when she was secretly building a new world with someone else. I dropped my phone. Sat there for 10 minutes just breathing, trying not to scream. When I got home that night, she was on the couch watching reality TV. Looked up, gave me a tired smile, and said, "Rough day." "You could say that," I replied. She got up, kissed my cheek, and said, "It'll get better. We just need a vacation." Vacation. The audacity. I knew right then, I couldn't confront her yet. I needed more. I needed her to believe I was still oblivious so I could dismantle her entire illusion. Emotionally, I was wrecked. I felt like a stranger in my own home. Every word she said now sounded hollow. Every kiss a betrayal. I started to second-guess everything, every touch, every compliment, every "I love you" she ever muttered. But I wasn't going to let her walk away clean. Not after mocking me. Not after planning her perfect little escape with the man she snuck around with. Next part. My lawyer gets involved. And I find out Laura wasn't just cheating on me, she was conning someone else too. By this point, I was done pretending this was salvageable. Love? Gone. Respect? Obliterated. Trust? A joke. But I wasn't about to let her walk away with everything while painting me as some clueless, boring husband. She was planning a soft exit, with a new home, a new man, and a rewritten narrative that cast me as just some dull footnote in her success story. I wasn't going to be a footnote. I was going to be the turning point. The next day, I called an attorney. Discreetly. Through another contact who owed me a favor. My lawyer, Michelle, was razor-sharp, no-nonsense and used to handling high-net-worth divorces where one party gets blindsided by betrayal. I handed her everything, the messages, the photos, the videos. Her reaction was instant. "You need to separate finances now. And get copies of everything. Bank accounts, shared property titles, investments, do it quietly, and fast." Laura and I had joint accounts, but I kept a separate one for my freelance work. She never cared to ask about it, probably assumed I was just playing with side gigs. Joke's on her. That side gig account had more than she thought, including the retainer I'd just dropped on Michelle. Over the next few days, I played the part. Smiled, kissed her goodbye in the mornings, even sent a few "thinking of you" texts when she was out late. And while she was playing house with Caden, I was digitally backing up everything: emails, calendar events, credit card charges. Found some interesting ones too: hotel stays during work hours, expensive dinners she never mentioned, even a lingerie store purchase on a day she told me she had cramps and was staying home in sweats. But here's where it got really twisted. Vincent called me one afternoon with a tight voice. "You're gonna want to hear this," he said. Apparently, he'd followed Caden one evening when Laura wasn't with him. Caden met with another woman, petite, brunette, mid-30s. At first, Vincent thought it was just a friend. But nope. He tailed them to a coffee shop, then to a park, and then to her apartment. Same routine. Same hand-holding. Same kissing. That snake was cheating on my cheating wife. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. It was the most messed up comedy I'd ever been a part of. The next day, Laura was all smiles. She brought home sushi, lit candles, acted like she was the perfect wife. Let's just have a night in, she said. I feel like we've been drifting. I miss you. If I hadn't already known the truth, I might have believed her. But I knew. And instead of crying, or yelling, or demanding answers, I played the long game. I kissed her back. I let her hold me. I even said, I miss you too. Because revenge? Revenge works better when it's quiet. And mine was coming. Next part. She tries to blindside me with divorce papers. Too bad I already had my own, and a bombshell that would drop her perfect plan right on its head. 2 weeks passed like I was stuck in a bad movie where everyone knew the ending but me. Except I wasn't clueless, I was just playing dumb. And Laura? She was ramping things up. Acting sweeter, more attentive, but with this weird nervous energy, like she was timing something. On a Thursday afternoon, I came home early from a client meeting. Max ran up to me like usual, tail wagging, but the house felt staged. Candles lit. Music playing low in the background. And Laura, she was dressed up in what I now recognize as her Caden uniform. Tight red dress, subtle makeup, perfume she never wore for me anymore. I knew what was coming. She poured wine before I even sat down, looked me in the eye, and said, Jake, I've been thinking a lot lately. About us. And what we want. I nodded, took a sip of wine, and gave her space to unravel whatever script she'd been rehearsing. I just think, we've grown apart, she started, voice soft, like she was delivering bad news to a stranger. You're a great guy, Jake. Really. But I need more. I need someone who matches my energy, my ambition. I want different things now. There it was. The monologue. The fake kindness. The crap people tell themselves to justify betrayal. I'm filing for divorce, she said finally. It's not personal. I just already did, I interrupted. She blinked. What? I slid an envelope across the table. Filed yesterday. Cited irreconcilable differences. My lawyer will be in touch. You'll find financial disclosures and settlement drafts inside. She just stared at me like I'd slapped her. You, what? Without even talking to me. Oh, I said calmly, I assumed we stopped talking months ago. You know, when you started house hunting with your side piece. Her jaw dropped. She tried to recover. Jake, what are you talking about? Who told you that? I pulled out my phone. Tapped it a few times. Showed her a video. Her and Caden touring the house. Signing a lease. You're a liar, Laura. A sloppy one. She stood up, face flushing red. You had me followed. That's insane. That's controlling, Anne. I cut her off. No, Laura. What's insane is cheating on your husband while pretending to be tired and overwhelmed from work. What's insane is building a new life behind my back and still kissing me goodnight like I'm the idiot in the story. She started to cry then, fake, crocodile tears. You don't understand, he gets me, Jake. You've been so distant. Because I was busy cleaning up your financial mess, Laura. You racked up debt on our joint card for dinners and hotels with him. You're lucky I didn't press charges for fraud. She shut up. Real tears started forming then, but it was too late. I'm not fighting you for anything, I said. You want out. You've got it. But let me be clear, you walk with what you brought into this marriage. Nothing else. She looked stunned. Not because she was sad. Because she realized her plan, whatever perfect fairy tale ending she imagined, was dead. I stood, picked up Max, and turned to go. Oh, I added. You might want to call Caden's girlfriend. Or wife. Whatever she is. He's cheating on you too. Next part. I host my birthday party again. Same house. Same family. But this time, everything changes when the billionaire calls again, and says something in front of everyone that leaves them speechless. I moved out 2 days later. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. There was nothing left in that house for me except echoes of lies and a scent of betrayal soaked into the curtains. I didn't slam the door. Didn't scream. Just left my keys on the counter, scratched Max behind the ears, and walked out like a man who finally knew his worth. My lawyer moved fast. We filed everything and had her served officially within 48 hours. The look on her face, according to Michelle, was priceless. She had assumed she'd get to be the one in control, maybe even drag me through the mud. But the papers were clean, airtight, and lopsided, in my favor. And then came my birthday. Yeah, I know. Probably sounds weird to still throw a party, especially after all that, but I needed it. I needed to remind myself that I was still me. Not the broken version she tried to shrink me into. My sister insisted on hosting. Said it would help reclaim the day. I agreed, but told her to keep it simple, small group, close friends, no drama. Well, it didn't quite stay that way. Word had gotten out. Laura hadn't just cheated, she'd been found out. And her reputation was tanking. Her job got wind of it when she missed a big pitch meeting because she was dealing with personal issues. Her company started pulling back on her projects. Rumors were spreading. But here's the kicker, she showed up to the party. Yep. Walked in like nothing happened. Wearing a smile like she still had a place in my life. She gave some fake hug to my sister and looked around like she owned the place. What are you doing here? I asked, calm but firm. She blinked. It's still your birthday, Jake. I just thought, maybe we could be civil. Before I could answer, my brother, who has never liked her, muttered, takes guts to crash the birthday of a guy you tried to emotionally bankrupt. People laughed. Awkwardly, but it stung. Then, right as the tension built, my phone rang. Unknown number. Again. I answered, figuring it was another client. Jake, it's Jackson, said the voice. Jackson Crane. The billionaire tech mogul. The room went quiet as I answered on speaker. Hey Jackson, good to hear from you. I wanted to call you in person. Just closed that funding round we discussed. Your plan? It's brilliant. You've got the green light. Full autonomy. You're running the entire dev pipeline now. I blinked. Wait, you're saying I'm in charge of the project? Not just the project, man. The company. It's yours to shape. You're the guy I trust. You're the boss now. We start Monday. The room went completely still. Laura's face turned white. Someone whispered, did he just say boss? I smiled. Thanks, Jackson. Looking forward to it. I hung up and looked around. My cousins, who mocked me last year, suddenly looked like they'd swallowed nails. My uncle, who once told me I'd peak too early, raised his glass in stunned silence. And Laura? She just stood there, motionless, jaw clenched, eyes wide. That was the moment everything turned. The guy they thought was boring. The one they mocked at dinner? He was now running a billion-dollar division with the CEO of a global empire calling him boss. I didn't rub it in. I just toasted quietly, smiled, and said, thanks for coming, everyone. Especially those of you who always believed I wasn't good enough. I hope this clears it up. Laura left without saying a word. Next part. I find out what happened to Laura after the divorce. Spoiler, karma came fast, and hit hard. After the birthday party, something shifted. Not just in how others saw me, but in how I saw myself. I wasn't the quiet, dependable pushover anymore. I wasn't the guy everyone chuckled at behind his back. That night, when Jackson called me boss in front of the people who once mocked me, including Laura, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. Confidence. Clarity. I didn't throw it in anyone's face. I didn't need to. The silence in the room after the call said enough. My phone blew up later with half-hearted apologies from relatives, old classmates, even co-workers who once ghosted me. Funny how fast people switch sides when they think you've made it. But you know who didn't call? Laura. After she stormed out of the party, I didn't hear from her for days. Not a single text. No snarky comments. No fake apologies. Just silence. I thought maybe she'd finally accepted that she lost. That her little fairytale with Caden was enough for her. But then Michelle, my lawyer, called. You might want to see this, she said. And forwarded me a link to a Reddit post. Relationship_advice. Title: I left my husband for someone else, and now I think I made a mistake. It was her. No doubt in my mind. She didn't use our real names, but the details were dead on. Marketing exec. 12-year marriage. Emotionally distant husband. New boyfriend who was spontaneous and passionate. She painted herself as the victim who just wanted to feel alive again. The post started off smug, like she was justifying her actions. But then it got dark. Turns out Caden. Not exactly Prince Charming. He wasn't just seeing the other woman, he had 3. One of them was engaged. Another one. Pregnant. With his child. Laura found out when she showed up at the new house, the one they tried to lease together, and saw him holding hands with a different woman on the porch. A screaming match followed. Neighbors got involved. Cops were called. The landlord backed out of the lease. She'd moved out of our house, tanked her professional rep, and burned every bridge for a man who was never going to stay. Now she was sleeping on a friend's couch. She didn't say any of this to me directly, of course. Just posted it online, probably fishing for sympathy. Comments were brutal. People roasted her for what she did to me, called her selfish, delusional, manipulative. Some even recognized the story and tagged me in it. I didn't respond. Didn't even upvote. Because I didn't need to. She was already drowning in her own consequences. My lawyer called again the next day. She's requesting mediation, she said. Wants to talk through things before final settlement is signed. I told Michelle to schedule it. Because I had one more thing to show Laura. Next part. The mediation meeting. And the moment I drop the final twist that leaves her sobbing in a conference room. The mediation was set for a Thursday afternoon in a glassy office building downtown. You know the kind, cold, sterile, full of polished furniture and the sound of second chances quietly dying behind closed doors. Michelle met me outside the room. She's already here, she said, stone-faced. You sure you're ready for this? I nodded. More than ready. We walked in. Laura sat across the table with her attorney, a guy who looked like he practiced smiling in a mirror. She looked different. Hollow, maybe. Her eyes were puffy, makeup thinner than usual, hair tied back in a messy attempt at looking composed. She tried to give me a soft, vulnerable smile, like we were two old friends patching up something small. Jake, she said softly. I gave her a polite nod. Laura. Her lawyer started rambling about equitable division, shared assets, and open dialogue. I wasn't listening. I was waiting. And then Laura leaned in, her voice low, like she was rehearsing humility. I know I hurt you, she said. I got caught up in something I didn't understand. But I want to be civil now. Maybe even repair some things over time. Michelle didn't even blink. She knew what was coming. I appreciate the sentiment, I said. And I agree, let's be civil. So let's go through this point by point. We discussed accounts. Vehicles. Max, obviously staying with me. Then she brought up the house. I'd like a buyout, she said. The equity is substantial, and I helped pay that mortgage for over a decade. I pulled a folder from my briefcase and slid it across the table. Already done. 2 weeks ago. It's been refinanced and placed in a trust, owned by Crane Enterprises, which I now manage. Technically, it's not even in my name anymore. Her smile faltered. Wait, you transferred our house to your company? No, I said calmly. My company. I was given full equity partnership and control over its private holdings division. That house is now an asset tied to our upcoming luxury development portfolio. Silence. Her lawyer fumbled. That's legally sound. But unexpected. Michelle smiled faintly. We play to win. Laura looked like she wanted to scream, but couldn't find the air. Her hands clenched in her lap. You torched our marriage for a man who bailed on you before the ink on your lies was dry, I said, voice still calm. And you thought you'd still get your happy ending. But this isn't a rom-com, Laura. Actions have consequences. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Oh, and about that new job you applied for? The one with Bright North Media. I leaned in, voice just loud enough for the room. You listed me as a reference. She blinked fast. I thought maybe you'd. They called me, I said. I told them the truth. That did it. Tears filled her eyes. The waterworks she used to turn arguments into guilt trips. But this time, it wasn't working. I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she whispered. I stood. Yeah, well. Neither did I. The session wrapped. No shouting. No dramatics. Just signed documents and a room that felt colder than when we walked in. Next part. Life after her. New beginnings. And one unexpected message that nearly made me laugh out loud. After that final mediation session, something strange happened. I felt peace. Not happiness, not celebration, just silence. A calm void where chaos had been living rent-free in my chest for months. No more pretending. No more second-guessing every glance, every "I love you," every late-night text she swore was just from Karen. It was done. A few days later, the divorce was finalized. I signed the papers in Michelle's office and walked out feeling like a man reborn. I wasn't sure what the future looked like yet, but I knew it wouldn't involve walking on eggshells or staring into the hollow eyes of someone who stopped loving me long before she admitted it. I moved into a new place. Nothing flashy, just a loft with high ceilings, lots of light, and space for Max to roam. I furnished it slowly, deliberately. Got rid of everything that reminded me of her. No more shared mugs, no more framed, his and hers, anything. My space. My rules. And business? It exploded. With Jackson's backing, I built out the project into a fully independent division. I handpicked a small team of brilliant, loyal developers and consultants, many of whom were former colleagues that Laura once said didn't have the drive. Our first 2 contracts closed within a month. The third was so lucrative, we had to expand before Q2 even started. Money was coming in faster than I could strategize. I hired a CPA, an assistant, and even a PR firm. I wasn't just working, I was building an empire. My family. Suddenly very supportive. Funny how that works. My mom called more often. My cousins, who once mocked me, were now asking for advice on startups and tech investments. I didn't hold grudges. But I didn't forget either. And then, just when I thought I'd left it all behind, I got a message. Instagram. From a burner-looking account. No profile pic, just a name I didn't recognize. But the message? Hey. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I was stupid. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. I hope you're doing well. I mean that. I didn't respond. Didn't block her either. Just let it sit there. Because that message said everything I needed to hear, without me having to say a single word. She wanted closure. Redemption. Maybe even forgiveness. But I wasn't interested in giving her any of those things. Forgiveness is earned. And she hadn't done the work. She'd simply lost. Next part. A twist I never expected. The other woman, Caden's other woman, reaches out to me. And what she reveals. It flips the entire narrative again. About 3 weeks after that Instagram message from Laura, I got an email that completely blindsided me. Subject: you don't know me, but we share something in common. I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam. But the preview line caught my eye. I was involved with Caden. I think we should talk. I opened it. Her name was Maya. She said she was Caden's other woman. Apparently, they'd been together for about 7 months, long enough for her to think they were exclusive, long enough for her to meet his parents. She'd found out about Laura the same week Laura found out about her. Turns out Caden was a serial cheater who juggled women like side gigs. Maya said she found messages from Laura in his iCloud backups. Pictures. Voice notes. A video. A video of Laura in our old kitchen, standing in front of the stove wearing my shirt, frying eggs, laughing at something Caden said behind the camera. I felt a chill reading that line. I thought you should know, she wrote. I wasn't part of your mess intentionally. I didn't know she was married. I didn't know about the house. But I know what it's like to be lied to by someone who pretends to love you. She included the video. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I already knew what I'd see, her using my life to play house with someone else. The thought was sickening enough. But what really stuck with me was what Maya said next. You don't seem like the type who wants revenge. But I figured someone should tell you the truth before she spins another version of it. She told me you were emotionally unavailable. That you were lazy. That you resented her success. I laughed. Out loud. Alone in my office. Because if you asked anyone who actually knew me, I was the one who celebrated Laura's every damn promotion like it was mine. I cooked for her when she worked late. I proofread her decks. I covered her share of the bills when she wanted to take time off between jobs. But in her rewritten version of the story, I was the dead weight. The unmotivated husband dragging her down. It finally hit me then, she needed to rewrite the narrative because admitting the truth, that she cheated on a loyal, supportive partner for a liar with a pretty face, was too humiliating. Too real. Maya and I exchanged a few more emails. Nothing flirty. Nothing emotional. Just two people who'd both been played, trying to make sense of it all. She mentioned she was going into therapy. I told her that was smart. I was doing my own version of healing, too. Slowly. Quietly. Not through yoga or journals or vision boards, but through purpose. And every day I woke up without the weight of Laura's lies pressing on my chest was a win. Next part. Laura tries to get back into my life, again. But this time, she doesn't show up alone. She brings someone else, and it leads to a confrontation that's long overdue. It had been nearly 2 months of peace. 2 months of silence. 2 months of rebuilding my life. 2 months without a trace of Laura. I honestly believed it was over. That she'd faded into her new, crumbling life. That she'd finally learned to leave well enough alone. But then she showed up. At my office. Uninvited. I was mid-call with Jackson, going over project timelines, when my assistant buzzed in and said, "Hey, sorry to interrupt, but there's a woman here asking to see you. Says her name is Laura." I paused. My first thought was absolutely not. My second thought was, what the hell does she want now? I ended the call with Jackson and told my assistant to send her in. She walked in like it was nothing. Like we hadn't torn each other to shreds in a quiet, brutal war. She looked tired. Underweight. Her eyes darted around the office like she was searching for cracks in the walls. For weaknesses. For nostalgia. And behind her? A kid. 17, maybe 18. Tall, tan, tattooed. My stomach dropped. Caden's son. I didn't even need her to say it. I knew immediately. She opened with a line I'll never forget. Jake, this is Leo. He wanted to meet you. I leaned back in my chair, staring at them both like they were characters in someone else's bad dream. I'm sorry, he wanted to meet me. Why? Leo didn't speak. He just stood there, arms folded, glaring. He had his father's smugness, but none of the charm. Laura cleared her throat. Look, I know this is awkward. But I thought maybe you could help him. I blinked slowly. Help him? With what? Algebra. She shifted, visibly uncomfortable. He's had a rough year. And I told him about you. How stable you are. How you've always been the kind of man who. I held up a hand. Stop. You told him what about me? That I'm what? A backup dad. A motivational speech. Laura, what exactly do you think is happening here? She stepped closer. He needs someone to guide him. I know I've made mistakes. But Leo isn't to blame for that. I thought maybe he could intern here or. I actually laughed. Laughed. Not out of joy, but disbelief. Let me get this straight, I said. You blew up our marriage, lied to everyone, tried to drag me in mediation, and now that you're flailing, you want me to be your emotional band-aid. For his kid. Leo finally spoke then. You're not even that impressive, dude. I smiled. I stood up, walked over to them, and said as calmly as I've ever said anything. I don't owe either of you a damn thing. Not respect. Not a job. Not closure. You made your choices. Now live with them. Laura's mouth opened slightly, like she might cry. I pointed to the door. You don't get to burn my world down and then beg me to rescue yours. They left without another word. Later that night, I sat on my balcony with Max beside me, sipping a drink and watching the sun go down. I felt lighter. Stronger. Unshakable. Next part? A new relationship. One that starts quietly, but with the last person Laura ever expected. It's funny how life works. Sometimes, the biggest changes don't come from grand moments or dramatic events. Sometimes, they start with a coffee. A literal coffee. With a woman I never thought I'd see again, let alone feel something for. Her name is Ellie. She used to be Laura's best friend. Well, former best friend, technically. They had a falling out a year ago. Something about Ellie being too judgmental when Laura started acting shady. I never got the full story back then, because Laura just wrote it off as Ellie being dramatic. But a few weeks ago, I ran into Ellie at a business event. She worked in operations for one of our partner firms, something Laura never mentioned, which is ironic, because Ellie was clearly killing it. Confident, sharp, and nothing like the passive, gossip-fueled version Laura once painted. When we locked eyes across the room, she gave a small smile, unsure, cautious. I nodded politely and went back to networking. I figured that was that. But after the event, she approached me outside while I was waiting for my ride. Jake, she said, hands in her pockets, voice a little nervous. I didn't know if I should say hi, but I'm really glad to see you. We talked. At first, small stuff, work, life, the insanity of tech these days. But then she said something that stuck with me. For what it's worth, she said, I always knew you deserved better. I just didn't think it was my place to say anything. That hit different. We exchanged numbers, and over the next few days, we texted. Then grabbed coffee. Then dinner. And slowly, something clicked. Not forced. Not rushed. Just real. She didn't pry about the divorce. She didn't try to fix me. She just listened. Asked questions. And laughed. God, I'd forgotten how good it felt to laugh with someone who wasn't hiding something behind their eyes. One night, a couple weeks in, she told me the truth about why her friendship with Laura ended. She was already seeing Caden, Ellie said. I called her out. Told her you didn't deserve that. She said I was jealous, bitter, and that I was projecting my own insecurities onto her. Then she blocked me. I sat in stunned silence. She looked up at me. I didn't say anything back then because I didn't want to interfere in your marriage. But part of me always hoped you'd figure it out. That you'd leave. You're a good guy, Jake. Always have been. That night ended with our first kiss. And it didn't feel like revenge. It felt like redemption. Like maybe the universe wasn't punishing me, just clearing space. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm diving into another relationship blindly. I've learned too much. But Ellie? She's honest. She's steady. She sees me. And she respects what I've been through instead of trying to erase it. The best part? She never once asked me about what happened between me and Laura. Not to gossip. Not for drama. Just let me share when I was ready. Next part? Laura finds out. And let's just say, her reaction wasn't graceful. Word travels fast in our circles. Especially when people are bored, bitter, and glued to their phones like gossip is oxygen. So it was only a matter of time before Laura found out about me and Ellie. It happened 2 Saturdays ago. Ellie and I went to a gallery opening downtown, nothing fancy, just a friend of hers from college who was showcasing some photography. We walked in holding hands. I didn't even think twice about it. I wasn't hiding. I had nothing to hide. But someone else was there too. Karen. Yeah, that Karen, Laura's old co-worker and gossip conduit-in-chief. I saw her across the room, sipping wine and staring at us like she'd just witnessed a murder. She didn't come over. Didn't speak. But I knew what would happen. And right on cue, the next evening, I got a text. Laura, wow. Ellie? Seriously? That's all it said. I didn't reply. I didn't owe her a conversation. But that didn't stop her from escalating. The next morning, she called. I let it go to voicemail. Jake. You really think she cares about you? She just wants to get back at me. She always did. She's not who you think she is. Then another. So what, you're playing the "look how happy I am" game now. Is that it? Is she your revenge? Pathetic. And then, when silence didn't work, she went nuclear. She showed up. At my office. Again. This time, she walked in like she owned the place, past my assistant, past the front desk, straight into my workspace where I was having a meeting with 2 of our new partners. She didn't even care. Jake, she said, loud and breathless, you can't be serious. Her? After everything. I calmly stood up and escorted her out into the hall. My assistant followed close behind, eyes wide. The partners. Silent. Watching. In the hallway, she kept going. She doesn't love you. You're just a project to her. You think she actually wants to be with the guy I left behind? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flinch. I just looked her in the eye and said, you didn't leave me, Laura. You cheated, lied, and replaced me with a man who cheated on you. Let's not rewrite history. She went quiet. Then, almost whispering, she said, I made a mistake. I shook my head. No, you made a series of choices. And now you're living with the results. Her voice cracked. So that's it? You're just done with me. I was done the moment you looked me in the eyes and smiled while tearing my life apart. Now? I'm building a better one. Without you. She left. Not with a bang, but a whimper. The same way she once snuck around behind my back. Quiet. Pitiful. Powerless. Ellie heard about it later that night. Someone texted her. She asked me, "Do you want to stop seeing me? If this is too much." I smiled. No. She had her chance. She lost. Next part. A final letter from Laura. And my closure. A week passed after the office incident. No texts. No calls. Just silence. I figured she'd finally given up. That maybe, just maybe, she'd accepted her losses and faded out like a bad dream. But then one morning, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Laura. Inside was a folded page, written in her familiar, neat handwriting, the kind she used to use when leaving little love notes on the fridge before everything changed. Jake. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I get that. I've said a lot of things I can't take back. Done things I can't undo. But I needed to say this somewhere, if only so I don't carry it with me for the rest of my life. I messed up. I got selfish. I wanted more, and I convinced myself you were the problem so I wouldn't feel guilty for chasing something else. I thought I could upgrade my life by replacing parts of it. But all I did was tear it down. You were a good man, Jake. You always were. And I was too caught up in how I felt to see what I had. I see it now. Too late, I know. But I do. I won't bother you again. I just wanted you to know that I regret it. Not because I lost their house. Or the money. Or the reputation. I regret it because I lost you. Laura. I read it once. Then again. And then. I folded it up and threw it in the trash. Not out of spite. Not because it didn't mean anything. But because I didn't need it. I already had my closure. Her letter was a tombstone to a dead relationship. A quiet, final gasp from someone who had finally realized what she threw away. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. Just finished. Life kept moving. Jackson offered me a speaking gig at a major conference. My company expanded. I hired 2 new developers. Ellie and I took a weekend trip to the coast, just us, no distractions. She made fun of how much I overpack, and I joked about how she steals the covers. It felt easy. Real. And one night, sitting under the stars with Max snoring at our feet, Ellie looked at me and said, "I'm proud of you, you know. Not for surviving her, but for becoming you again." I didn't respond with words. Just leaned in and kissed her forehead. Because she was right. I didn't win because I got rich. Or because Laura fell apart. I won because I remembered who I was, without her. To anyone out there going through something similar, you don't need revenge. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone who discarded it. You just need to remember who you are when no one's watching. And become that person again. Thanks for listening, Reddit. I'm good now. Better than good. I'm free.